Quack, 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 quack. No!
Hell was that?
Until they copyright it, I'm telling you. Until we get demonetized or copyrighted for that, I'm not taking it down. We are going to use that every show.
That is right.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome into the Voice of College Football Oregon channel right here with me and Spaz, as well as streaming also on the Ohio State channel. So appreciate all the viewers over there. We will be seeing your comments, I'm sure. How you doing, Spaz?
I'm doing good, man. Just enjoying some college football tonight. I woke up from my tequila nap. Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that one. Okay.
Don't drink tequila in the middle of the day. Fuck.
I took a nap earlier too. I got home at like 1:30 and I started drinking, watching football, and I was like, all right, Georgia Tech Vanderbilt, the battle of the nerds, put me to sleep.
Yeah.
It did put me to sleep. Well, screw it. We're here for the Rose Bowl show and we're on the Ohio State channel. So, of course, we have to have representation from the Ohio State people as much as we don't want to. So, please, everyone, welcome in Garrison of the Ohio State channel as well as the Scarlet and Blue show.
Hello.
Howdy.
Hey, guys. No, that's hilarious, man, because I was watching Vikings earlier, and I was going through some Coronas. So I took probably a nice little 45-minute power nap. So I'm right there with you.
All right. Well, we're all on the same page today, then, it seems.
Yeah, we're all a bunch of fucking college football drunks.
I was looking forward to the Battle of the Nerds, and it just like put me to sleep. So I'm watching Washington State, Syracuse. I'm about to have USC A&M on and the side screen. So I'm going to be like peering over randomly, and yeah.
Yeah, I got USC, Texas A&M going on right now.
Same here.
So this is the Rose Bowl preview show, but there's so many topics to talk about, and I don't know. Do you have anywhere you want to start, Garrison, with this? Like, kind of like, there's been so many things, like I said on the off screen before we went live, that question-wise, I've gone over in my head today.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't know where to even quite start with it, because what has been kind of the official Ohio State fan base specific reaction to, like, Oregon coming into the Big Ten year one, undefeated, and taking out, so to say, the blue bloods of Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, even Michigan State, all in 1 year. Michigan State's down, obviously. Michigan's down, obviously. And, and taking the time, what has been kind of the fan perspective of the Ohio State fan base?
I guess you could say it's not so much aggravating as it is annoying. To see, the Oregon program and fan base coming in year one to the Big Ten and succeed at the level they have. It's kind of puts even other Big Ten programs in a, okay, guys, someone shut them up, please, like mindset, right? At the same time, I mean, yeah, am I someone who, I went back and forth early in the season with whether we would win that game or if you guys would, but I'm not surprised. Months before the season started, I had put out a tweet about what I believe about Ohio State and Oregon over the next 3 to 5 years, and how I think those two programs would eventually separate themselves from everyone else. Not that teams like Penn State, Michigan, and maybe even USC would challenge them, but I think our two programs will separate. And then at the end of it, I put, and people might see it faster than they think, and here we are. I mean, to the point where even Rich Eisen put an LOL under it. So, for me, I'm not surprised, man. It's annoying, it's frustrating. You guys are the Big Ten champs. But, we get to this point now where Ohio State finally gets a rematch.
Yeah, for sure. This has been a little bit of a wild ride. Everybody has been, at the beginning of the season, we did all our season previews and I told everybody that I felt like we could be there. We could be in that national title hunt this year. And a lot of people called me crazy. I said we could go, 11-1, possibly undefeated. And everybody thought I was nuts. And well, here we are, undefeated still.
Well, and in fairness too, I think most of us were like, "Hey, beginning of the season, we saw kind of the floor, definitely the floor at 9-3 at worst, but probably 10-2, 11-1, undefeated, sure, but we kind of split the Michigan Ohio State games. That's kind of where we were at the beginning of the season. Now Michigan's been down. I mean, don't tell Ohio State that apparently,
Trash,
but
garbage.
Yeah. Well, 13-10. But anyways, yeah. But then Wisconsin was obviously a rough game, and that turned out to be a very rough game as expected, especially the eighth straight game on the road. But yeah, so undefeated was definitely in the mix, but I didn't expect it. I thought we'd have a loss.
It's hard to go 12-0. That is not easy, and that's there's 134 programs. I mean, you get to the 25th ranked team in the nation. They probably have 3 or 4 losses. It's a very close margin between these football games, especially when you're playing a high level competition like the Ohio State Oregon game we saw earlier this season, or when you play Penn State. It's hard. It's not easy. So I mean, hey, it's an awesome feat that you guys did. It's cool to watch. I mean, just as a college football fan. And now Oregon's in a position where this probably isn't one of the greatest teams of all time, but say if they were to finish out, it would probably be the most impressive season of all time.
I think that's a fair statement. There have been questions about on other shows that I've seen, and they said, would this be the greatest Oregon team or college football team all the time? I'm like, no. No. Now, maybe balanced Oregon team, I would say yes, if you do that. Feet wise, of course, but most talented, best performing overall, no.
So, what are you guys? I want to ask this for you guys. Coming out of that game against Michigan, what were your guys' thoughts after the Tennessee game about Ohio State?
I was a little shell shocked. I felt like Ohio State would probably win that game, but I did not see the drubbing that they put on Tennessee. I loved it. I thought it was hilarious because, as you know, I do spaces as well, and I deal with a lot of Tennessee fans, and they were just obnoxious that whole week. We're going to take over the stadium and blah. Yeah. We're going to show them what a Buckeye really is, and yeah, they were they were crying their way back to Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean that I was not surprised that you guys won. I think Tennessee got shell shocked. Mm-hmm. I think they were looking at that Michigan game and going, okay. And then Chip Kelly randomly decides, hey, you know what? Hey, I have great wide receivers.
Right.
I can actually throw the ball. It's amazing how that works sometimes. And as Oregon fan, we know Chip Kelly very well. He's a very stubborn man. Ask UCLA fans too. But yeah, no, he had a great game plan. And but that also makes you look at, as we were talking about before the show too, is the SEC really that good though?
Right.
Tennessee was supposed to be one of the best defenses in the country. That D line was supposed to be amazing. And your banged up O-line pushed them around,
mantled them.
I was so confused because I kept asking these Tennessee fans, like, did you guys watch our season? I mean, we played Michigan's defensive line, Oregon's defensive line, Penn State's defensive line. It's not like Ohio State's not battle tested or they see anything close to, or I mean, at this point, I think all three are better. I think that's the 6th offensive line Ohio State has brought out this season. simply because Luke Montgomery was we were bringing our left and I think our left or the right guard in and out during the game. But that's the sixth rendition of it, and they manhandled them. And now I'm ready to push the narrative that Big Ten trench play is much better than the SEC, but I thought that proved it.
Well, this is the Tennessee team that beat the main team, Alabama, that is complaining about not getting in the playoffs. Who lost to the blown out by the Oklahoma team, who just lost to Navy.
Semper Fortis, go Navy.
I mean, so bowl games, you can't compare bowl games necessarily to regular season and stuff like that.
If I ever saw Ohio State lose to Navy, I'd be very pissed off.
Yes, okay, I can agree with you. I can agree with that, but so I don't think the SEC is really. It's a down year for the SEC. I think you're seeing that now. If we watch Michigan push around Alabama, even after they've gotten some of their guys go out, going into the draft and stuff like that. If they push around Alabama, for instance, I think we could confirm. Like, I mean, Clemson did good against Texas.
No, I think Michigan's defensive. I think their defensive line is going to dominate Alabama. Honestly. Now, I don't know if they're gonna be able to score on Alabama, but I think it's gonna be a hard day for them to score on Michigan, especially when Jalen Milroe is just not the guy. It's
not in that offense, anyways. No. I mean, DeBoer needs a quarterback, like a throwing quarterback. I mean, like a Michael Penix. I mean, guy was phenomenal. I mean, there's no question. When DeBoer was offensive coordinator at Indiana, guy balled out. He goes to Washington. After Fresno and Penix follows him, and you see the results. I mean, he needs a throwing quarterback, and Jalen Milroe is just not that guy.
I call him Mildew.
It's a fair point too. It depends on what Milroe shows up. Is it like the scared in the pocket, running for his life, or throwing pick type of guy like Oklahoma?
If you blitz him, dude, if you simply blitz him, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. And I thought Michigan proved that last year when they played him in the playoffs. Like Milroe, dude, he's just not good when you get him under pressure, and that's most quarterbacks. But it's just like he loses his mind.
It's going to be interesting to see because that's why it's tough to predict bowl games, though. Because there's like I said earlier. I think I told Spaz the other night on a show. I was like, hey, or no, sorry, it was a Michigan cast I was on. I was like, I think Oregon got kind of a benefit despite some of the close games, which there were, because like you say, no matter what you do, going undefeated is hard at any level. I mean, Ohio State has close games here and there, like 7-point, score games type of thing, with teams that probably shouldn't, but they do because it's tough. Oregon kind of benefited a little bit from a lack of familiarity with teams, or teams not having familiarity with how they run, so they can catch them off guard. You think Penn State wasn't shocked by Tez Johnson in that game? I mean, he's running wide.
I don't know how they were, man. I mean, the guy has a proven track record as a really good receiver, especially in the slot. I mean, and a lot of Oregon fans don't like when I say this, but that guy is a slant and screen merchant. And if you don't know he's doing that, man, and that's on them. But it also speaks to the credit of Tez Johnson. He's good in that position. He knows how to find the open spaces and zones. He can beat man with really good quick routes, quick feet. Like he's a really talented slot receiver.
Did you like Ohio State fans? Did you guys take anything away from that game, particularly when you're looking at Oregon? Because obviously, you guys had to worry about Tennessee first. Did you guys take anything away from that game in the sense of how to defend Oregon? Because personally, like a lot of those Tez Johnson passes, they were literally just slants.
Yeah,
they weren't even anything crazy. They were just slants over the middle.
No, I think that what Tez Johnson brings, and with more than the other receivers is that he knows how to work the middle of the field. It's not like he's the greatest athlete, and he reminds me of somewhat of like not the same level, but JSN, where JSN is not the greatest athlete. He's not super fast. He's not bouncing into the sky to catch footballs, but he knows how to navigate the middle of the field. And even if you have if you're in zone or if you're in man, it's hard to defend him. So I mean, for Ohio State going into it, it's all about Cody Simon and Cody Simon, Sonny Styles, and the rest of that linebacking core keeping tabs on him, and up to guys like Jordan Hancock in the slot, and whether Lathan or Caleb Downs comes down whenever they need to, you keep tabs on him, and that's the big thing. I mean, what I honestly took from it was I was surprised with what your defense looked like towards the end of the season against Penn State. I'm not. I don't think we had Penn State's O line, but rushing for damn near 300 took me by surprise.
Yeah, it took us by surprise too. And from what I heard earlier today, I don't know that it to be 100% true, but from some of my insiders, now I'm hearing there is the possibility that a good majority of our team tested positive after that Penn State game.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if that were the case and guys were just sluggish, which is really what it looked like a lot, guys were slow to the reaction to the plays, and sometimes then I could see it, because that was our worst defensive effort of the year.
There was a story
true.
about the defense specifically, especially because of course they were spending most time together defensively. There was a story about them having the flu apparently or something. I don't know how true that is. We talked with Spencer of Locked On Ducks and Locked On College Football. He was like, I don't know. And I was like, it just looked like they played generic ass defense too, for the most part, for some reason. And I credit Penn State obviously for having a great game plan. And Penn State just did what they did because they found on 28-10. They could have just given up at that point.
Oh, for sure.
And just gone, we're done. But they didn't. So I don't know. I'm not going to say one way or the other, but I do like Tosh Lupoy's comment earlier. If you watched it, Spaz, he did his little Rose Bowl press meeting earlier, and he said they were like, "What can you do differently this time to especially harass Will Howard compared to last game? Because we didn't really get a pressure. Now we have Burge back," and he was like, "You'll just have to see on January 1st." Like a smug look on his face, and I was like,
"That sounds like him."
Oh, that man, that man. He didn't hesitate to answer that. I was like, ooh.
Well, this is what I'm really interested to see, because Mateo, I get really confused when people tell me Burge is better than Mateo. I think Mateo's just better than him, and he's more athletic. But Burge, one thing Ohio State's defensive line, or specifically the tackles, have been very good at this year is protection against larger defensive ends. They have problems with guys like Pierce or Abdul or guys like that. So I'm really interested to see if don't get me wrong, like you guys have really I've told guys your guys' defensive line mirrors ours, where you have really athletic, still big defensive tackles, and your DNs are 260 plus. You know what I'm saying? Like they're really big guys. But I want to see if we can, if our pass protection can still hold up. There's been times in this season where they do, well, they allow it, and thankfully we have Will's legs, but we'll see.
But I'm curious to see that. I think the first meeting, I think we're going to see on Oregon side defensively against Ohio State, we're going to see a lot of the same the first time. It's more of a, you're going to see a little bit of man coverage, but you're going to see a lot of zone. You're just going to be like, don't get burnt. But what does Ohio State do? Because I'm sorry, Burke. I think the statistic was like he got burned for like 150 yards in that game.
8 for 8 on him, 179 yards. The rest
179. Okay.
The rest of the defense gave 162. So this is where I am with that. I try not to take the best performance and the worst performance. I take what's even keel. That was the worst performance of his career. I cannot believe, and it also didn't help that we didn't get much pressure. But I can't believe he plays that bad again. There's just nowhere in my mind I can believe he does that. And it also helps that I don't know if you guys know this, but like I'm pretty sure you guys do, but most of the Ohio State fan base believes that the best corner on the team is Jermaine Matthews. And that's been since the beginning of the season. And he's the first guy off the bench. He's been playing a lot more towards the end of the season, so which is really good because he's a really good corner. Like he's really good. I mean, in the first matchup, I was just crying for him to take out Burke and put in Jermaine Matthews. But well, what do you guys think about your DB's matchup on our wide receivers in this? What's
double box Jeremiah and place cover 2 deep safety maybe on the rest.
That is a good point. Is potentially kind of mimic a little bit of what Michigan did with the 2 high, kind of take it out. But Oregon's not going to run man to man the whole time. I know they do like to run man to man, but I mean, I think you just got to run zone. Kind of just basically don't get burnt.
If you run
keep everything in front of you.
If you run man like
against
Tennessee,
Ohio State, you're fucked.
Yeah,
yeah, man. You run that man, dude.
Tennessee.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap if you run man. It's not even a stat, but I love pointing this out because I did way back at the beginning of the season. Of the 5 starting DBs for Oregon, the tallest one is 5'10". The rest are 5'9" and like 180 pounds. So, and I think with this is Ohio State, there's a portion of the Ohio State fan base, maybe smaller now, that wants to see us run the ball. I have settled into the fact that under Ryan Day's regime, we are a throw the ball team program. That is what we are, and we have the receivers to thankfully do it. And we just happen to have the greatest wide receiver prospect in football history at our disposal. Like, dude, I wouldn't be mad if we had between 20 to 25 runs and 35 somewhere around that passes if we're averaging 5 yards to carry on the run. We don't need to run first to win a game. And I just don't want to see us do that. Not against you guys, because it could be a shootout, and I don't want that.
That's a fair thing because, I mean, really the first matchup, I mean, obviously our run defense has been kind of the weakest spot. Passing defense has been pretty solid most of the year, outside of even the Will Howard game or the Ohio State game, because that was the only 300-yard passer we've given up.
Yeah.
Running, though, that game, Oregon kept Ohio State in check running the ball. Outside of two to three decent runs, they really, you were not getting any run from that defense. Oregon was not giving it up. So I think if you go back to that Michigan mindset, like for Ohio State anyways, offensively, I don't know, it could be a bad day. So
yeah,
I think
I have to trust and believe that they are not that dumb. That would just be a malpractice. That would be one of the worst malpractices I ever saw, dude. I would call for their heads figuratively.
You would be without a TV.
No, I've told people, man, like if I see a bad performance, I'm 6 hours away from Columbus. I'll get to the front of that stadium before Ryan Day gets out of the office. I just nah. So I just really want us to be able to expose you guys, especially your linebackers. I don't think there's a linebacker, maybe a couple, but most linebackers in college football can't run with Travion Henderson when he runs wheel routes out the back. So that's also something I'm watching, and then just do no mistakes, man. I mean, the ball bounced a few ways for each team when we played. You guys had the interception that wasn't called the interception. I think, and then you have Ohio State had 2 turnovers. Like that's huge. because I think both teams actually could have played better.
Yeah, and Spaz, what do you think? What do you think Oregon's got to do? I mean, Oregon. I mean, in that game, that first meeting, of course, this is a different game, but I mean, I don't know if they need to even worry about doing anything differently. In some ways, it was. I mean, Dylan Gabriel plays the best ball he plays is in the biggest games. It's against like quote unquote lesser competition where he like forces things or tries different things to see what can happen and makes some mistakes. But in these games, he's like almost flawless. I'm not gonna say perfect, obviously, but
yeah, it's kind of like if you look back on the last game, which is I'm pulling up right now.
he was pretty solid. I mean, 340 yards, I think, something like that. Two TDs and a rushing touchdown. So
yeah,
He's doing
340
good,
yards, 155 on the ground. I mean, it was pretty much an even game. We outgained Ohio State by 30 yards. But I mean, James had 115 yards. We didn't have anybody else really that ran the ball. I mean, kind of like Ohio State too. I mean, Winnington had 7 yards that game. 7. Our number 2 back. Ohio State's number 2 back had 23 yards. So they barely combined for 110 yards between their 2 backs. And that's, but that's, like you said, that's normal Ohio State. In years past, the yardage would have been flipped. You'd have seen 300 yards rushing and 150 yards passing. And so it's definitely changed over the years. You had 2 receivers with basically 100 yards. Yeah, Smith had 100 yards. Ibuka had 93. We had Stewart with 149, and Tez was 75. Ferguson was 60. And Holden
and a spit, and a loogie.
Yeah, and a loogie.
And a loogie
by Trayshawn. So I mean, if Trayshawn holds his loogies, maybe we have some better outcome.
Oh yeah, for sure, man.
He's loogie free.
And also, for Captain Hills, what he said, Buckeyes can do no wrong. It seems. No, listen, I still haven't picked a winner for this game. I still haven't. I think these are the 2 best teams in college football. I thought that when they face each other, I thought that after they face each other the first time. So no man, Ohio, like Buckeye Nation, dude. We don't get me wrong. I think we can win this game, and most Buckeyes do. But we're not ignorant to the fact that it's not surprising if Oregon wins. That's a really good team. Like the 13-0 for a reason, number 1 overall seed. So
that's where I'm at with it too.
And we get Ohio State instead of like Arizona.
Yeah, your first matchup. Yeah. Looking back on
it, absolutely hosed.
And then Penn State, they play Boise State.
Good. Yeah, we the playoff conversation could go on for a while to be like
definitely.
Reseeding. What are you doing? How do you? I listened to a bunch of opinions earlier, and I was like,
and I want to point this out because Mike, Cleveland, like he pointed this out. Mawalski, he started in that game alongside losing Josh Simmons. So a lot of the reason why Ohio State's run game struggled in that was that we lost the left side of our offensive line during that game. Or not, we didn't lose, but we lost a left tackle who's going to be a first-round pick. And then the guy we started left guard at the time was just complete trash. It is what it is. He was just bad. Derek Harmon was ragdolling him all game, and those guys don't start. So, well, Zen doesn't.
One I do point to is there's a good comment here, and this is being brought up a lot, especially Ohio State fans. I understand it because the hypotheticals, etc. You can't do that. Same as like transit properties, you can analyze it, but it's not one for one. But it's like hopefully we don't get robbed for an interception this game, and that is true. That is true.
Yeah.
I do want to we have to point out the fact now again. Facts are facts. It was a 1-point game. But Oregon left so many points on that field that
both
day.
teams did. We had 2 turnovers.
I know. It's like both teams left points on that field. Mm-hmm. So it ended up being a 1-point game. We didn't get that interception. Missed a wide open Tez Johnson on 4th down. Missed the field goal, I think, or had to settle for the field goal, especially after the Tez Johnson spit, where we were probably going to drive down and maybe get a touchdown. It was moving that way. Don't know if that would have happened. Those are points left off the board potentially, or given up. So
no, for sure. No, for sure. I thought both teams played a B+ game. I thought each of them could have played better. Now, at the same time, I do believe our A game is better than yours, and the only reason I believe that is because of our defense. I think our defense can reach a level that yours can't.
It's fair. That's fair.
The only question is if you see it. that's the problem.
That's the thing. Yeah, it's like how do you feel confident after this Tennessee game, or do you feel like you could have this like letdown because of that? There's the high and lows of teams, and it depends on the coaching staff and everyone around to get that team together. You just did this to Tennessee, just whoop their ass.
Yeah.
Do you feel like maybe there's a little letdown or a sluggish start? I know Oregon, same thing, a sluggish start maybe off the rest period where you lose that continuity as a team. And so I don't know. Is Ohio State worried about that? Are you worried about that with the coaching staff?
I'm not. And the reason is because the seniors on this team are insanely battle tested. They've had their wars with the team up north. They've had their battles with Utah in the Rose Bowl. They had their battles with Georgia in the playoffs when no one thought they would have a chance in that game, and next thing you know, they're the ones that end up blowing it. So I think that they know better. This coaching staff will have them locked in. And also one of the reasons I don't think is going to happen is because of the offensive line having their second game together. I think that's very important for them. I think this offense will go as that offensive line goes to some extent. So I'm not afraid of a letdown. Are you guys afraid of the rest that you guys have had, having a month off? Almost a month.
Years past, I would have been,
Mm-hmm.
but since Dan Lanning's came in, I think he's. I mean, you listen to Dan Lanning and Tosh Lapoy this week, and they're both still like this. They can hardly talk in their press conferences because they've been out on the field just getting at them. Getting at our units and making them, learn what it's like to play late season ball. And Lanning's got the experience. He's coached on national championship teams and whatnot. So he knows what it takes to get there. The path is a little bit different now, but he does know what it takes to win in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I have to say that one thing they preach a lot, both sides, not just offense or defense, just as a team as a whole. And some people might find it bad, but it's credit to strength and conditioning. Is they say they want to make practices harder than the game. They want them to feel it so that when the game comes, they're not as stressed. so to say, or whatever, or panicked. Like they want to put him on this. So that can be good and bad, injury wise, of course.
I get that line of thinking. I understand that line of thinking. I do. I'm not mad at it actually.
So we'll see if it plays out. Obviously, I guess in the sense of things too, though, is like that's it. You're looking at landing year one in the Big Ten, undefeated, battle tested, also close games, stressful games, bad O-line play at the beginning of the year while they're figuring things out. What would the fan base for Ohio State do if they lost to Oregon a second time in the playoff? What would absolutely happen? Worst case scenario.
It's funny because in a space earlier, in a best damn space earlier, us Buckeyes were really going, like, I was going at it with the guys with Clay Mike and them about this, and with Truther. And Mike understood what I was saying. I was also just kind of being kind of goofy at the moment, but I was very serious when I say this. A lot of people will say that they want Ryan Day gone. Okay, and I want to preface these words or these thoughts. It's okay to have your own opinion because mine isn't right. It's just my opinion. It's my line of thinking. If Ryan Day loses this game, allow the fan base to want him gone. It's not happening. Get it out of your head. It's just not happening. And so even though I get why they would want him gone, because at some point, he's been for 5 years now. We haven't been to the national championship since the second year, 2020, and we believe that we should have had one right now. I believe that we should have had a national championship under Ryan Day at this point. But 3 years ago, I gave him a 4-year window. He's in year 3 right now, and so I'm somewhat tracking on being right that if next year happens and he doesn't win a national championship or loses to Michigan or something like that, doesn't win the Big Ten, he's gone next year. But Ryan Day is not getting fired after this loss to Oregon.
Was it more likely he would step away? Maybe like what Stephen here is saying too. It depends on the type of loss. So say just hypothetical, this is not going to happen. I'm not predicting any sort of thing. But say Oregon literally put up it was 38-14. Would Ryan Day maybe walk away?
It might be a conversation. I don't think it would happen, though.
Yeah, I'm not predicting that type of score at all.
I want to. A lot of fans would be like, "Oh, it was just like they can up the ante for someone else." But think about this. I think it's somewhere around $50 to $60 million on a payout if we were to fire him. Then you're also talking about his staff leaving, and then you're talking about dishing out how much money to get another coach. Because Ohio State's not going to get some run-of-the-mill coach. They're going to get someone. They're going to get someone.
You got Chip Kelly sitting there.
Hell no. Hell no.
Urban's itching.
Yeah, no.
Urban's at a strip club somewhere in Ohio.
Yeah, Urban's out there being a great father somewhere. Listen, listen. He's an asshole, but he's our asshole.
Kicking kickers.
No, I just
kickers in the knee.
Oh yeah, I love that story. But it's just look, man. When that happens, it's gonna be a big conversation if he loses on what we all believe should happen. I know for a fact that if we lose against you guys for a second time, I'm gonna be very pissed off, and I'm gonna vocalize it. And at the end of the day, it does fall on Ryan Day. So,
but like you're saying, you got a $50 million buyout, then you got to go find somebody who's going to be available,
dude.
They're big enough to bring in.
We're talking like in transaction wise, you're talking $100 million. Around that area. At essence, dude, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for an institution to spend. I thought they would have, and they have a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, but
you already got a $20 million nil program of guys that you brought in. Now you're going to do $100 million coaching change. It's
ask USC about that with Lincoln Riley. That ain't happening. Uh,
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys that. Yeah.
yeah. I saw it. I was going to bring it up, but honestly, I wouldn't think anything bad if we lose by 14 or 17 points. You know what? I don't think anyone's going to think any different landing.
What if you lost 38-14?
No, okay. I'm not going to have any different opinion. I don't think.
How would you feel about the season?
I
mean, go ahead, Spaz.
Bummed out because of I'd revert back to the system, to the playoff system.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be bummed out. I'd be bummed out, but I think at the same time to go into the Big Ten and win it, it would suck to go out the first round. At least if you went out the second semifinal, you could maybe understand it. But I really think that this is the biggest hurdle. But I'm not going to feel any different about Dan Lanning or anything like that, especially depending on what happens in this game. Like say Gabriel goes down, God forbid, and then you get smoked after that or something. So there's a lot of context to what happens. If it's a straight up just you get murdered, that's a different conversation when that time comes. But I'm still not going to feel like.
Do you think as a fan base? Well, actually, I was going to ask. I'll ask you too. So this year and then 2021 were your guys' first wins against Ohio State in history. But you guys have never beaten us in, let's say, like a Rose Bowl, or we took a national championship from you guys. Would you guys be upset as a fan base if this was to happen for a third time, where you guys lose to Ohio State in a very big moment?
Yeah, probably.
Yes and no. I guess also the same reverse question back at that. For Ryan Day, this would be 0-3 against Oregon.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I said. Oh, I go scorched earth. I go scorched earth. What are you talking? Oh yeah. No,
again, Johnny, I have to constantly say, remember the first one was at the shoe against Mario Cristobal and Anthony Brown.
Well, listen.
I have to keep reiterating that to you, to the Ohio State fans,
and listen, you know what?
That would piss me off as an Oregon fan.
And context matters. That 2021 Ohio State defense is one of the worst in Ohio State history, along with 2018. It was one of the worst.
Yeah, I believe they fired the defensive coordinator after that game.
Oh man,
mid-season.
And by the way, I don't hate Dan Lanning. He has one of my favorite quotes ever, rooted in substance. I love that. I think Dan Lanning's he's smug. Don't get me wrong, he's really smug. Like my God, he just oozes Nike. I hate Nike.
It's confident. It's just confidence.
Oh
too.
No, he's smug. He's smug.
Oh, he is. Could you have imagined all the photos at the Heisman ceremony between him and Dion about they're playing for clicks, we're playing for wins. Mario and Dan Lanning swapping the Oregon head coaching jobs, and him getting relinquished to the Pop-Tart Bowl. Oh man! Shout out Pop-Tart Bowl tomorrow. Shout out to the Pop-Tart Bowl.
Yeah, we'll be trolling the Traveling Fools after a game tomorrow.
That's what you're gonna be doing.
I have nothing better. I have nothing better to do.
Him and Slim. I got nothing better to do.
USC got interception.
Yep.
It's still
I thought it was
7-0.
going to be 100-yard pick six, but they pushed him out.
Yeah. Washington State missed a field goal. They're done. Syracuse wins by like 14. It's okay. Washington State put up a good fight, so I'm happy to see that. Yeah, I'm happy about this too. Rose Bowl game. It's almost a traditional Rose Bowl game in the sense, minus that now it's just two Big Ten teams.
No, the football guys looked out in this one, man. Like it wouldn't seem right if it wouldn't seem right if Tennessee was there with you guys. It wouldn't seem right. So
yeah, at least we get that. I mean, it's a traditional feel, so I kind of like that.
Have you guys have they shown their jerseys yet? What they're wearing?
I don't think so.
It's gonna be more of the which is unfortunate because every time we wear this, we've sucked this year. Like it's been not a great game, but they're going to be wearing more of the traditional, I think, green with the duck. I don't know about the helmets or pants or anything like that, but I think they're going to wear green and with the duck. Now, could they come out blackout again? Kind of surprise everyone, blackout.
Mhm.
Maybe a throwback 2015 Vernon Adams with the white and black duck.
Dude, I'm a
That
fan
would
of the
be that would
still.
be
I'm a
nice.
fan of the steel plated ones. I used to love those jerseys with what Diz Dixon was a quarterback.
Yeah, that's what they wore against you guys. They wore that little. They had the steel plated trim.
Oh no, I don't want that one, man. I want the whole shoulder.
Oh, you want the whole thing?
Oh, I love I want that jersey. I want that one.
So I don't want to.
This game's putting me to sleep in the second quarter.
Yeah, it's not. USC has 4 rushing yards and 24 pass yards. Oh God, that's so bad.
Yeah,
I was trolling USC last night. They were like, "Man, it's gonna be like 45-20 USC." I'm like, "Dude, half your team's in the transfer portal.
Yeah,
what are you talking about?"
So during the off season, I went on a little rant on a Scarlet and Blue show with my co-host Bryce. Where I was just going off about USC, and I said that you guys are the new Nebraska. And after after they beat LSU and then beat Michigan, a bunch of them came on Twitter, man, and started, they're like, make me a positive. So I said, I was wrong. You guys are right. But as the season ended, man, I circled back around. I was pretty damn right about them. You guys are the new Nebraska. You lose a lot of games. You probably you guys lose in spectacular fashion. Like I'll tell you what, just like Nebraska, you guys,
best 3-9 team ever.
It's a sad thing to say, but when I was a kid, my dad used to tell me, Garrison, Michigan State, they'll be playing good for a few quarters, and next thing you know, they look down their jerseys and remember who they are. And it's sad to say that that's now USC.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I find it funny. I mean, like UCLA, I'm kind of like, yeah, you just went along for the ride. This is USC's doing to destroy the conference, so I find it funny. Not for the players. Most of these players had nothing to do with obviously any of that decision making. I just feel it funny as a university to watch yourself tank.
Right. And I'm sorry, you are right. You guys beat me. I'm going to say just LSU. That was my fault. But the fact still remains that they are Nebraska.
Well, that is true too. Remember, USC, beat LSU. So again, SEC, meh.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah. And I wanted to believe in them, but
USC and Washington can tank. I don't.
So are we
all the same mindset that we all believe whoever wins this game is probably going to go on to win the national championship?
100%. This is the natty, in my opinion.
I don't know. I'm not 100% sold now. I think everyone's writing off Boise State. I think Boise State could potentially give Penn State some problems.
Get out of here.
Guess what?
Get out of here.
Guess what? Hey, don't you sleep on ASU. Don't you sleep on ASU. Texas is not anything super special. I avoided an F-bomb tonight. Look at that. I restrained. I held back.
Is Scatabo the greatest white running back of all time?
Yeah.
Him or McCaffrey? Him or McCaffrey?
Yeah, McCaffrey. Yeah.
I mean, there was also the other Stanford running back.
Tony Gerhart.
Yeah, Gerhart. That was like,
yeah,
it's right there.
Yeah, Adam, we're gonna have to take Lincoln Riley to Piscataway to Vinny's, and he needs to have a meeting with Vinny and see what happens.
I was pulling for you, Rutgers. Last night.
Gosh, that was. If there was one thing I could be for sure in, is that a Greg Schiano Rutgers team wouldn't give up like somewhere around 40 points. My goodness. My goodness. I was frustrated watching that.
Well, it's like they got through the third quarter and they're like, got it. And they forgot there was a fourth quarter they had to play. They forgot there was a fourth.
Yeah.
That was pretty much what happened.
That could have been a big win for them too. And you know what's funny? I actually I had Rutgers at the beginning of the season as my playoff dark horse. I just picked
with the schedule.
I picked the wrong red team. That's all I did.
Yeah, they were. I was on that post game with Adam last night. Oh, look at that! USC just scored a touchdown.
You son of a bitch! Oh! I hate when we're all ahead. We have to sync up the timing on all this stuff.
I'll rewind 10 seconds. I'm ahead of you.
Yeah. Oh, it's a screen. Oh, it's a screen touch. Yeah, it's a screen touchdown. Yeah. I'm about 10 seconds.
But yeah, it was funny. I'm in the back. I'm in the back stage, and Adam was getting ready to go live, and he's just like, "Do I even have to do this show?"
In all fairness, yeah, I didn't join in until I think it was an hour after, because I was flipping through different stuff and doing other things. I flipped on, and he was just like, "Well, Rutgers." Well, I'm like, I feel your pain, dude. I feel the pain. We've had some of those games before.
Yeah,
Washington last year.
TCU in 2015.
Yeah, I was telling Adam last night on the Rutgers post game. I was like, watching this Rutgers K-State second half kind of gave me flashbacks to a K-State bowl game that Oregon played a few years back. Second half, Oregon just all of a sudden had nobody left.
We didn't have Vernon Adams. Yeah, we're never speaking of that game ever again. Ever.
That was again. So funny having Vernon Adams on and having him talk about that game, and he was like, "Oh, they pulled me out because they said I had a concussion, but I felt fine." I'm like, "Oh." To hear that, a dozen years later is just it hurts your heart.
It also could have been delusion from him having a concussion on the sideline too. You never know. Is Venables going to get fired? No, Venables is not going to get fired.
And I think next should be his last. Well,
if he goes 6-6 again or 6-7,
yeah,
then maybe they'll be looking to fire him. This year, he had every wide receiver was out for Venables. So
they lost their top 6 or 7 wide receivers.
Then he did run off his starting.
Yeah, they were down to walk-ons.
Yeah, but he did run off his starting quarterback.
Here, you come play.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think Venables is a fit.
I can't believe Oklahoma's going to be down for that long.
No,
I don't want to believe that.
Ooh. Here's a good question for Ohio State fans. So, if Oregon goes 16-0 and wins the Natty this year, the first ever, the O means 0. Yeah, I got it. Blah blah blah. If they win it and they first one, does Oregon? I mean, this is a controversial question. Does Oregon officially become, quote unquote? I know people say history, a blue blood. With the recent history of success,
look. This I'll work with you here, okay? I'll work.
This is a controversial. This is a controversial question because people say, no, you had to have done it way back when, and that's when you built up the blue blood status. But will they have cemented themselves?
I'll call you a since the turn of the century, sure. Since Joey Harrington graced
blood.
Since Joey Harrington graced the NCAA football game, yeah. Because that's when I first figured out who you guys were. Joey Harrington, and then the Lions ruined his career.
So a new age.
I like that, a new age.
Grimm says it best. Basically, Oregon has been a blue blood since 2000. That's when Oregon really became a program.
Okay, yeah, Johnny, that's fair. That is fair. Wait, but you said they win the Natty. That's what you said, right?
Yeah, if they go and they win
you win the Natty, then it's since 2000 for sure. You guys get blue blood status, and then we'll put it in quotations 2000. Just so we're clear. You guys aren't the old. You guys don't got old money.
That's a good question, and Spaz, you can answer this too. What is Oregon's quote unquote tradition? Like, as an Oregon fan, I think Animal House, party school, and just kind of in and out of football until the last, like you say, 20 years. Like, I'm really like investing, but they really have not done much football wise. I know there's a lot of history there, but I mean, I know no one else. Garrison's like, what history?
No, I think no. I think your guys' tradition is not having tradition. I think that's really cool. It separates you guys. And
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Spaz. 1 second, Johnny. Yes, that's what blue bloods are, but we're talking about wins that happened when segregation was alive and Hitler was still in power. So those championships mean nothing to me now. Modern era is where I go from. So like around 60 on. So
that's what I was going to say too. Is in part, and I want to get Spaz what he's thinking, because I think sometimes not having this strict traditional kind of thing, it's just kind of, it's the newer age of it. But
guys play YMCA teams, like, no, come on.
When you have teams that are like, well, we won a natty, and it was like 50 years ago. It's like, no one cares. You've literally not been to like a New Year's Six bowl since then, so no one cares, kind of thing. To me personally, now everyone just rubs it in your face. But
kind of like the conversation we had on your other channel with Mr. Fools. He was like, oh, what is Oregon one? Yeah. It's like, well, yeah, if you go back to 1947, Miami's got a couple of this or a couple of that. But, we're in the 2000s now. It's not 1937. What have you done for me lately is the motto I go to. And in the last 30 years, since 1995, when Mike Bellotti and Rich Brooks made Oregon a relevant program on the West Coast, they've got probably, I think I saw the stats a while back, like the third or fourth most wins over the last 30 years of any program in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, now you can kind of get into that blue blood / top perennial national program, whether that be blue blood, black blood, red blood, green blood, whatever. In the last 30 years, Oregon has become a relevant football and basketball school both.
Mm-hmm. No, and we've had these conversations before. You can play yourself out of being a blue blood. I really do. I completely believe that.
Just ask Lincoln Riley. Yeah,
exactly, dude. And if we're gonna say teams can play themselves out of it, teams can play themselves into it, and it starts with one thing though: holding that trophy at the end.
Yep.
So you guys do that. I'll give you my stamp. I'll give you my stamp from 2000 on.
Well, thank you, because you and I, Justin and I had that argument, I think, a few weeks ago or whatever, on the rivalry show, where I said, how long does it take to fall out of blue blood status? And everyone just lost their mind. And I'm like, if you haven't done anything in like 40 years of relevance, go fuck yourself. Okay,
so
there's my one F-bomb. There's my one. I get one.
Here's your introduction to Big Ten football. And or actually to the Midwest.
Nebraska hasn't done anything in the Big Ten.
Yeah. Oh no, they haven't. Well, but to the Midwest. In the Midwest, we're very stuck in our ways. We're very elitist. And when I say elitist, I mean in our own right. we hold on to things, and you're really gonna. But here's the thing, and you can, and if you read the comments, you see a pattern. There's one gatekeeper, and it's that school in Ann Arbor. They're a gatekeeper of all things righteous and all things holy, and they are holier than thou, and they're above reproach. So you see what they're saying in here about how teams that say that they're not used to winning from Kinetic. They try to be gatekeepers up in Ann Arbor, so just be aware of that.
No, I mean that's fair. I mean the one thing that the Big Ten does have, and over what the Pac-12 had, was history. A lot more, and obviously you have like USC and stuff. They've been up and down. They've been down for a while outside the Rose Bowl win. Utah kind of came up the ranks. They lost both Rose Bowls. Oregon's beat Wisconsin a few times. Yeah, I understand that. We've reached the pinnacle a couple times, just haven't been able to accomplish the feat, taking the trophy.
You're welcome.
That in 2010 Auburn, Dyer was down.
Excuse me?
I'm not going into the argument.
You're worse than you're just like those Michigan fans. My God.
I'm kidding. He wasn't down. He wasn't
no,
down.
you believe it in your heart. You do.
No, he wasn't. That was just a really bad tackling. All of a sudden, at one point in the game, it was like, really?
Man, you guys have actually been that close that a few times. And it's funny because it's not easy. Nick Saban.
I still have Ezekiel Elliott in my nightmares.
Oh God! Don't stop. Just stop.
Like Nick Saban is kind of like screwed up the sport to a point where everyone thinks that it's normal for programs to continue to go to a national championship. Like Ohio State has been since 2000. Ohio State's been there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. That's tied for the second most since 2000. So if you and which means it's not normal. So if a team goes there twice, that's not like it's of course you're not. If you didn't win it, you didn't win it, but that's a feat in itself. That is not an easy thing to do in a sport with 130 plus teams.
No, especially when you were in the BCS, so you had to be 1 and 2. I mean, that was it. Like now, then you got the 4 team even. So as long as you get the playoff, unless you're Oklahoma and just want to get blown out by better teams because you have no defense, think around.
I remember back then you had to drag your nuts on guys like at the end of the season. You had to just keep blowing these bad teams out. Like it was a terrible. And I'm looking back on, was the BCS that bad?
Well, no. If you look at the BCS, if you look at the BCS rankings now, most of the 12 teams that were in this playoff would have probably been under the BCS rankings, anyways. So, and this is the Rose Bowl preview, but I you know what? I like the playoff one. I like the home field advantage. I like the home field. Those were great.
It was beautiful.
Those are amazing. Even if they were blowouts, guess what? That happened in the 4 team settings, anyways. Teams blew out other teams. Oklahoma got blown out. Florida State got blown out it happens. But also, when people say best teams and deserving, there's a fine line of when it's like, okay, you look at like Indiana, and people are like, well, South Carolina should have been in. They were high. It's like, Indiana, I'm sorry, do wins not matter?
Yeah.
The Indiana didn't set their schedule this year. Don't blame that team for the schedule they had. They went out and did what they needed.
They didn't do it in the Big Sky Conference or they're the CUSA. They did it in the Big Ten.
Yeah, if you remove a team like that and say, hey, and I can understand some non-con. Oh, USC threw a pick. If you remove that type of team and say, well, your non-con was crap, you didn't play the best teams of the Big Ten. It's like, how? That's not their fault entirely because the Big Ten had to reschedule stuff, and the point is they blew most teams out, and then you're eliminating wins matter. So why play the game then? Just literally, like someone said earlier, I saw at the beginning of the season, go, this team's like the most talented team, this team's like the most talented team. There's your playoff teams. Screw it. Let's just have the playoff now.
Exactly.
Pretty much. I mean, like, you got to reward teams for winning. Don't lose to Oklahoma and Vanderbilt.
Don't get sandblasted by them. My goodness. It's like,
I mean, like,
Jeez.
well, all right, we're a little over an hour, but we still got some still got a good viewership here. Is there any questions on the chat about this game coming up? Any specific things for a couple minutes here?
I'll be right back and grab some water real quick.
Oh, that sounds good. You know what? I'm going to do the same thing. We'll just leave Spaz up here by himself. I like it. Spaz, entertain the chat for a minute.
Yeah.
Go grab some water,
So,
Garrison.
Mark, what do you think?
Like you, JTC. Well, yes, but we're talking first round. Yeah, first round blowouts have happened though. LSU, Oklahoma, but LSU would have blown out a lot of teams, no matter what, in 2019. So that's not a surprise.
So, okay, chat, give us your final four predictions, chat.
Ooh,
Who wins these weekend games? And then when Garrison gets back, we'll have him throw his thoughts out as well.
Boise State have a shot.
Yeah, they got a shot to beat Penn State, but that's about it.
Yeah, I think they have a. I mean, they have a shot at least to keep it very close. I think it could be very close. Because I'm sorry, that game against SMU, Penn State's offense didn't do anything to impress me in that game. I don't know if they were just sluggish in that game or I don't know. I could see this. Texas,
They're
Oregon,
eating
Georgia,
the
Penn
cats.
State.
They're eating the dogs.
I don't have that clip on this show. That's my other show, Troy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with that, Adam. Ooh, Steven, I like that.
You could see this too. Oregon, Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Boise State, Georgia, Ohio State, Texas.
Boise State. Yeah, they could. Everybody counts them out in the Fiesta Bowl.
I forgot. I forget Garrison has control of this. So I'm like, how do you just remove himself and bring himself back in? I forget
on the network, man.
I'm forgetting people have control of certain things. I'm like, damn it.
That's why I was waiting for Adam to pop in and go after Garrison because he said he was going to, but he never did.
Oh
no, I have Notre Dame beating Georgia too.
Yeah, I could see that one because I mean, sorry, I don't know enough about Gunnar Stockton to have that much confidence in him.
Yeah.
I
don't either.
Beck was nothing special this year.
No,
that
he
was
really
a turnover
wasn't.
machine.
He found the girlfriend and forgot how to play football.
Oh God! Didn't they prove that was from like a couple years ago or something?
It could be a Manti Te'o situation. Speaking of Manti Te'o,
ouch!
Welcome in his uncle Adam from the Rutgers show. Uncle Adam, are you there?
Yeah, I just don't. I don't think Gunners. From what I saw in that game against Texas, I just wasn't impressed. You know, he couldn't pass the ball. He has mobility, but it's nothing special. And so, even though and Georgia's defense has been up and down this year, and their defensive line, their front seven is not as elite as it has been over the past few years. And I think that if you look at Notre Dame's, you know, that Northern Illinois loss, it's bad, but outside of that, man, it's been BTA for the rest of the year for them. They've been killing everyone they played. I have more confidence in them and in their court. I have more confidence in Riley Leonard than I do Gunner.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I just don't. I don't know that. I think Notre Dame's defense definitely could hurt Gunner. I don't think he's gonna have. I don't think he's got the experience yet. It
Mm-mm.
was like it's like throwing uh Nico against Ohio State's defense last week. You
Mhm.
can't throw a pretty much redshirt freshman with no experience playing on the road, hostile environment, cold weather, and put him in there and expect him to be Johnny Manziel. It's
Right.
just not going to happen.
And another thing that's not going to help a guy, a new starter, is when your team leads the nation and drop passes.
Yeah.
It's just not a good recipe.
Yes.
Yeah, like I'm looking at it here. I mean, like you have Georgia Tech scored
Tony!
42. Like Georgia Tech scored 42 points to them. UMass scored 21. Florida scored 20. Mississippi State scored 31. Bama at 41. Their defense can be had.
Yeah, exactly. And they got drugged to 8 overtimes. Yeah, it
Right,
doesn't bode well for them. If they had Beck, maybe, but Beck likes to throw a lot of picks this year,
exactly.
so we'll see what Gunner has. I think maybe he can confuse Notre Dame's defense a little early on, but if Notre Dame gets a couple of scores early,
Probably a wrap.
it could be lights out. It's probably a wrap because I don't think they'll be able to move that ball as well on Notre Dame's defense. It's just a different animal. Marcus Freeman has them rolling right now. They're a scary team. They're a scary team for anybody in the playoffs.
This Texas USC game is boring.
I know, dude. It's like, fuck, it's almost halftime. It's 7-7. I thought this might be one of those
You guys bringing Adam
shootout.
up?
What's that?
Are you guys bringing Adam up?
I thought we were,
Or-
but he hasn't popped in yet.
Oh, I see him on my side.
I'll pop him in.
1 second here.
Oh, really? Right this exact same time? What?
Merry Christmas, guys. How you doing?
Christmas.
This
So-
is the AI guy, Adam. He's artificially inseminated. with
I take that as a
1980s
compliment.
hairdo.
I'm a test tube baby. So the reason I'm coming in and crashing the party, and I appreciate you guys having me here. What do you really think is going to happen in that Rose Bowl? Do you think that Ohio State is going to beat Oregon? Because I think that the game being in Outson Stadium was a big factor. So I think Ohio State might pull it out this time, and I say that with all due respect to Oregon. Ohio State's defense is just so tough, and I think that after Oregon played against Penn State and gave up 37 points, I worry. What do you guys think, since you know more about Oregon football than I do?
I think if we have a defense like we did against Penn State, we're in trouble. But if we have a defense like that we've played with all year until that game, I think we'll be all right.
I do think it's which offense is going to get stopped first. It's limited. It's coming down to mistakes, penalties, or turnovers. Because both these offenses are not going to get stopped. This is not going to be a 17-14 game. This is going to be this is going to be a shootout game, I think, to the end, no matter what.
Well, how did Michigan hold Ohio State to 10 points? I mean, Jeremiah Smith was not as much of a factor. I mean, Ohio State did something scheme wise. I'm sorry, Michigan did something scheme wise to stop Ohio State. I'm assuming they did bracket coverage, but I mean, Ohio State couldn't score more than 10 points, and Ohio State, although they beat Penn State 20-10, again they only scored 20 points. So as explosive as their receivers are, they can be stopped. Do you think Oregon has the personnel to do that? And Garrison, by the way, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Adam.
Yeah. So when you look at this game from Ohio State perspective, especially considering the loss against Michigan, but the dominating performance against Tennessee, how do you think Ohio State comes out in this game?
So all right. So let's go back to the Michigan game. In that game where we went wrong was that Chip Kelly was being stubborn. After the game, I said his play call was stubborn, arrogant, and bland. He ran a lot of tight sets, ran a lot of routes out of that. Nothing went. He didn't try to go deep. Like there was a time in that game where at the top of the screen in the third quarter, you could see Jeremiah Smith by himself in press coverage, no safety over the top, and no one thought to audible out of that. And it was just there was a lot of things, and it's not to say that Michigan didn't do anything defensively, but that game, man, it's that a lot of that had to do with scheme and what Ohio State was doing, continuing to run up the middle on Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham. It was dumb. It was just dumb. The Penn State game, I thought that game was a little bit. The score didn't show how actually dominant Ohio State was in that. People, we had a pick in that game, and Will Howard fumbled the ball at the 1 yard, into the end zone for a touchback. Penn State didn't have an offensive score in that game,
right?
When I get to this game, if Ohio State's defense plays more towards how they looked against Penn State, or honestly just the season after the Oregon game, we haven't given up a pass touchdown since. And I think 860 receiving yards. If they can play like a middle between that and what happened against Oregon the first game, I think they're going to be fine. And again, this is respect to Oregon when I say this. There's nothing about their secondary that makes me believe that they can contend with our wide receivers. And I think that that's not the same on the other side of the ball for us, where I believe is our secondary. We have 2 All-Americans at safety and 2 pretty good draft corners are going to go second, third round. When you look at the roster, I think they're both really close. Ohio State should win the game. I truly believe that. I truly believe that. At the same time, why I've gone back and forth with this game is that I think Oregon's damn good, man. I think they just play very complimentary football, and they have a quarterback who's a seasoned vet who doesn't make mistakes. He just doesn't.
I think you're right. I think the Michigan game was a scheme issue. I mean, I think they should have thrown it more in the first half, and they were trying to run it up the middle, and that wasn't the right game plan. I think they tried to adjust in the second half, but Spaz, and for all the Oregon people here, how good is Dylan Gabriel? Since you guys know more about Oregon than me,
he's good. He's much better than I thought he was going to be. I was a little leery of him coming from the Big 12 into the Big 10, but he seems to ball out in these kind of games. Texas last year just absolutely destroyed Texas on the ground and in the air. The Ohio State, Penn State this year, the Michigan game, going into hostile environments. The 4th down play at Wisconsin at Camp Randall, late night, cold. Your team's trailing 4th and 7. If you don't make that pass on 4th down, you probably lose that game. I believe if that pass was not completed, we lose that game at Wisconsin.
I have to agree. I think it's like here, he's experienced. He's seen everything from UCF to Oklahoma, now to Oregon, through the Big Ten, the first 3, 4, 5 games even. He was getting comfortable with Will Stein because I brought him in the offseason. Will Stein adjusting to a left-handed quarterback. How will it be? And I think that we saw there were some struggles there, figuring out where he can rip the ball to and fit it in. And I think he's figured it out for the most part. But yeah, in the big games, he seems to do even better. I don't know if that's just an attitude he has or if that's just the team around him as a whole. Can't say. Obviously, we're not in the practice room or, on the field looking at that. But he just seems to. He's been a lot better. He's been better than I thought he would be. Myself too.
So, my question for you guys is: let's assume both, if either Ohio State, or Oregon advances. How do you like their chances against Georgia?
Belt to ass.
Yank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Georgia's not been great. I mean, I credit Kirby Smart for doing the coaching job he's done to get them where they are right now, but they have not been a great team this year.
I would love
up and down.
I would love nothing more than for Dan Lanning to get his revenge on Kirby in a national title game. But I don't see Kirby, man. I honestly just don't see them without Beck. Granted, he hasn't been the greatest, but the experience counts, especially when you get to this time of year. And I just think rolling out a redshirt sophomore just doesn't bode well for a team in the playoffs. Look what happened to Nico last week against Ohio State. I mean, experience counts, and this time of year, you need experienced guys in the trenches and all of that.
Hey, can you go back to Johnny's comment real quick?
Which one?
I just want to that one right there. I just want to highlight this because I love having data. We were on his ass all game to the point where we cracked 2 of his helmets, not one, but 2 of them. Mind you, you guys might not know this. Ohio State is number 2 in the nation, in quarterback quarterback sack percentage at 10.5%. So it's in terms of all the drop. In terms of when quarterbacks drop back, we hit them on 10. We sacked them on 10.5 of their dropbacks. So no, like Nico was running out of there because there was no one open downfield. Tennessee's wide receivers are trash, and we were getting pressure. We sacked them 6 times. 6 times.
Yeah, the shocking thing about the game was that Tennessee's defensive line was totally dominated.
Yeah.
When I look at Ohio State, they remind me a lot of Michigan last year with their defense, and I think their offense is even better. I really can't predict the Ohio State-Oregon game. I think it could go either way.
I'm right with you, Adam. People have asked me why I think of who's going to win. I don't know. I can tell you who I want to win. That's for damn sure. I can tell you I want to win. That team on the banks of the Olentangy. But I mean, just as someone who loves the sport, who watches it probably too much, I don't know.
Well, here's the problem, though, and you know what? The committee should listen to this because they got it wrong again this year. Ohio State should not be playing Oregon in the quarterfinals. All right, you're having 2 teams that are probably among the top 4 in the country playing. They should be playing other teams, and it should be set up in the semis where they're, because we're canceling out one of the 4 best teams, in my opinion, while Boise is playing Penn State and Arizona State's playing Texas. Ridiculous.
No, it is. It is.
That's why it has to be kind of worked out. It has to be kind of worked out because
God,
it's like,
I know
we're watching. As he said, he's watching too much football. I'm literally watching USC, Texas A&M, and USC doesn't even have half their roster.
No,
it looks like Ohio State's kicker out there. Left.
Dude, no, God forbid it comes down to our kicker. Oh, we have a better chance of throwing to Jeremiah Smith in triple coverage than we do kicking a 40-yard field goal.
You know what, though, Garrison? The best thing that happened to Ohio State was losing to Michigan, because they are now a very dangerous team because of that.
As a Buckeye fan, I hate hearing that, but I get the line of thinking.
Well, as a Rutgers fan, I hate hearing anything. Anything. It doesn't matter what you say.
Because this is why I don't think a lot of people are talking about this, and it's probably one of the second time Ryan Day's been able to do this with a really good defense. When Ryan Day, and you saw it last week against Tennessee, when Ryan Day goes for broke, specifically on offense, he lights teams up. You look at this past week against Tennessee. You go back to the Utah game where JSN puts on I think the greatest performance in the Rose Bowl ever. Georgia game, no one thought we were going to have a chance in that. The next thing you know, we go up on that deep. We took the top over that defense, over that Georgia defense. Then you have the Clemson game in 2020 when it's late in the fourth quarter. Ryan Day still having Justin Fields throw 40-yard bombs. Like when Ryan Day gets pushed into a corner, and and I think a lot of people focus. And Josh Cohn said this on Crane and Company. A lot of people like to point to the Michigan game, but that's more of a mental block thing for Ryan Day, and I separate that game from everything else we do.
I hear you, but you know what? I'll be honest. I mean, players on teams like Ohio State, they have big egos. They got their NIL money, their fancy cars. Everybody loves them. It's kind of nice to get knocked down a few pegs in a game to make you kind of rediscover the things you need to do to be successful. And I think historically it's happened in all sports where you have a tough game where you either lose it or it's unexpectedly close and then the team comes back. I think that makes Ohio State very dangerous. And I think Rutgers is also very dangerous too.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you heard this, Adam, but I'm really upset with you guys. I actually did have you guys as my playoff dark horses this year, early this season.
Yeah, injuries killed us, and also I just think the culture at Rutgers. It seems like the fans and the administration is happy with a winning season and a bowl game. I want to see the standard be like, hey, it's we're fighting for a national championship here, and I just going 7-5 to me is not acceptable. But given how Rutgers has performed historically, I suppose that's a good season. I admire Greg Schiano, of course, tremendously, but I think that Rutgers needs a culture change, and I think they also need to be able to get some better players.
Well, in counterpoint to the Michigan wake-up call for Ohio State, take into account, again, Oregon's undefeated. Big Ten champions already beat Ohio State, and they're an underdog. You don't think that has Dan Lanning and that team fired up to be like, all right, doubt us again? It's almost the exact same percentage FPI and point-wise as the first matchup. I'm just saying, you don't think that gets him fired up, knowing Dan Lanning and how he's giving his speeches? That man is, he's raring to go.
This reminds me of the movie Rocky 2 and Rocky 3. When in Rocky 3, Apollo said, "You beat me by 1 second." And he could never get over that. Well, Oregon beat Ohio State by 1 second. So what I worry about for Oregon is that Ohio State's going to come out with a mindset that was benefited by the Michigan loss, where they're going to be hungry, and it's not going to be an outsend. And I think it's going to be a different Ohio State team. I'm not saying Ohio State's going to win, but I give a slight edge to Ohio State, with all due respect to my Oregon fans, who we will welcome to New Jersey for the Rutgers game in Piscataway next year. And I will also travel out to Eugene when we go to Oregon.
We are so looking forward to the Rutgers game.
I know listen, if there's one thing Dan Lanning took from Kirby Smart is that they're both very good at giving Mussolini level propaganda and lying and saying no one believes in us, everyone's picking us to lose. Come on, like it's because
but it works. It works,
yeah.
don't it?
But I and to the being the underdog, this is the way I see it. When the first game was Ohio State.
Like minus 2.5, 3.
Minus
It's kind of
2.5
like it
the
is
first
now,
one?
something like that.
Yeah, minus 2 the first one, and you get 3 points for being home.
It's a toss up.
Yeah, so I think it's right where it needs to be, and it was one. It was one. I was 2.5. So, which means a lot of people are putting money on Oregon.
Yeah, I that's what I mean. It's like it's still a toss. I mean, in general, it's still a toss. But if it's under, like, if it's 2.5, you kind of can go. Literally, it could be a toss up.
Who do you think has more fans in the stadium?
Oregon.
No, I think it'll be pretty 50-50.
I bet you'd be Ohio State.
Maybe 60-40.
Last time it was.
You know, Columbus is a great city. I went to graduate school at Ohio State in the short north and the German village, where I would tell you it was a lot of fun. You got to have respect for Ohio State. This game is just too difficult to predict. It's going to come down to a few plays, and it's going to come down to, who wins those inches. But is anybody on this show prepared to say tonight publicly that Arizona State will defeat Texas and a Quinn Ewers who has no longer any velocity on his throws?
I'm not ready to say
I think Texas.
I
think Arizona State covers.
Covers. I will go for that. I would go right now openly to say they cover.
I just that spread. And maybe this is me. You know what? Maybe this is me being a blue blood elitist. I just don't. Yeah, I can't imagine Arizona State beating them. I just can't see it. I love what's their coach's name?
Dillingham.
I love him. He's awesome. He's awesome.
Then I will do it myself, because although I think Texas might be one of the 4 best teams in the country, I am predicting Boise State to upset Penn State and Arizona State to shock Texas.
Now, here's a shocker, and this is not going to happen, but heads would explode after all the doubt of the playoff. Arizona State, Boise State, national champion. Wait, well, no, Arizona State would have to blow out Boise State, so it would be would have to beat Boise State. So where do we go? I got my packet here.
Hey, I can tell you, these West Coast people.
No. It could be. It could be Arizona State, Boise State national championship. It could be.
I'll tell you what will get the least ratings, and most because like the fan base is also. But if you had the Final 4 teams and 3 of them were from the West Coast primarily, ESPN, the networks would get mad. They would get, if you had Boise, Arizona State, and Oregon. Oh,
if it turned into
Arizona State will get eliminated in the semis, but Boise State has a shot.
Okay. Yeah.
They will get a little. Boise State has a shot to go to the final. I don't think they'll win it, but it kind of reminds me of like March Madness, when we think the traditional teams are going to be in the Final 4, and you always get 1 or 2 teams like Sister Jean and Loyola Chicago, if you remember that.
Yeah.
Come on, Sister Jean provide inspiration. I think Ohio State's inspiration, ironically, is going to be Michigan. That was the best thing that could have happened to them, because it taught them they better
stop cussing at me.
What? Hey, if you win the national championship, you thank me then. If you don't, then I could be a jerk. But I think that one of those 2 teams is going to go to the semifinals and be very competitive, if not the finals. I think the more likely result would be Boise State, but I think Arizona State's going to shock Texas, 27-24.
I could see it. I wouldn't pick it, but I can see it. Another thing, I think whoever comes out of this game from Ohio State and Oregon as the winner, I think they're going to have a sluggish start the next game. I think it's gonna be a really tough emotional game for both teams.
Yeah, and that's
I
the
hope.
disadvantage of this whole thing, man. That's the total thing because Ohio State and Oregon have to go out there and kill each other, and then they're going to be injured. They're going to be weaker than teams that have to play lesser competition. I think that's wrong. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Spaz. Go on. This is your show.
No, you're all right. I just I'm a little worried, just because we win this game, and that means I'm on a flight to Texas on January 10th.
Yeah, and just think about that too. This is also, I mean, this is not anyone's fault. This is not lined up to be this way. But think about it. So Oregon will go, Ohio State goes to the Rose Bowl. So say Oregon wins. Then you have to go play maybe Texas in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. Then maybe Georgia in Atlanta.
I hate that they always do that. I hate that.
What I mean, like how awkward of a lineup that could potentially be, in the sense of like home field advantage to a degree for those it's just like, come on, Jesus. I know there's no avoiding it in a sense. It's not like anyone lined it up to be that way. It's just how it kind of lined up bowl selection wise and all that. But it's like, could you make it any more potential difficult for a team if you have to literally go play in the home field advantage for those other teams? Like,
no, the committee. Go ahead.
I actually would be mad if they adopted the NFL, like something like the NFL, and like you play in the elements, you play a home game. If you have the higher seed, and then the championship game, you go into a dome, or maybe the semifinals too. I think this probably should have been a home or away game this week also.
I think so too. I think so too. I mean that, but there's the bowl tie-in, so you got to incorporate them, and so there's all that. I mean, the Rose Bowl didn't want to give up their stuff for a while. They were the last holdout, as I recall. I would love to see. I would love to see this weekend also be a home field advantage. But I think it's great. Again, the home field stuff was phenomenal.
Well, I'll tell you. I think given how competitive these teams are, it often comes down to a few plays and the intangibles. And I come back to Sister Jean. Sister Jean was the inspiration for that Loyola Chicago team to go as far as they did when they were less talented, had less depth. What team has the right mindset, the right inspiration is going to win? And I don't want to take any more of you guys' time because I'm just a guest here. But much respect to Oregon and Ohio State, and I wish you guys the best of luck. Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it. And Happy New Year.
Same to you, Adam.
Thanks, Adam.
And good luck to Rutgers next season until Oregon plays them and we obliterate them like 72-0.
We'll look forward to it.
Now you guys on the East Coast of New Jersey, just call the mafia and make sure they get like some bad food or no heat in their hotel or something like that.
Steal our jerseys.
I take that as a compliment. Thank you. See you guys soon. Eat Italian. Take care.
Yeah.
That is Adam, who covers the Rutgers portion of the Voice of College Football. So never go check him out. Rough night for them last night. So let's wrap this bitch up. We've gone on actually longer than I thought we would. I'm not mad either. I just want to watch USC get destroyed and drink and fuck off.
I'm not watching football at 12:30 I'm watching football at 12:30 at night. That's insane.
It's 11:21 here, and I'm like,
real quick. What I admit, when I used to live in San Diego, I used to hang out with my guys, Tuck, Cam, Thomas, DJ, and Will, and man, we used to love it because we wake up and football starts out. College football starts out there at 9 a.m. So we're already halfway hammered by 9:30, And then you get to watch football all day. Then the games end around 10, 11 o'clock over there. Then you get to go out and have some fun, man. But now I'm living over here in Central or Eastern time, dude. It's just late for football.
It does have advantages. I'm not a morning person, so on weekends I like the 11 a.m. Central Time kickoff. But yeah, like right now, it's halftime. It's 11:22 p.m. So I'm like, oh god. Especially watching West Coast football specifically before the Pac-12 is like, oh god.
I do
and
miss
then when I've been on these
at night, man, or after dark.
Oh yeah, that's why they started calling it Big Ten after dark because they're like, oh god. And because I've told people on the Oregon Channel specifically, I had to cover Stanford, Oregon a couple years ago, Bo Nick's first year, Dan Lanning's first year. I fell asleep during the fourth quarter, and I didn't do the post game. It was just sitting there waiting for me because I fell asleep because it was like 2:30 in the morning. I was like, just on the couch in the hotel. So, how do you think this game will go? Because, like I've said, I think this is going to be a shootout. It's going to come down to literally just who has the most penalties / who makes the biggest mistakes, like a turnover here, a turnover there, the more penalty yardage, etc. Like little things like that. Maybe Dan Lanning doing a fourth down that doesn't convert on some weird play call.
Thank God he can't do the 12-man thing anymore. Jesus, man. Yeah,
you don't think he doesn't know some other loophole?
Dude,
he's already thinking about it.
I was just amazed. Who knows a rule? Who the fuck knows a rule? I'm sorry. Who knows a rule like that? Like,
it's a random thing. I'm like, you don't think he's already planning for something potentially? I mean, he's already like, yeah, no.
That guy is so
look at stuff.
So I know you're trying to close. I was gonna say like Ryan and I were talking on Ohio State Primetime. He asked me like, what's my biggest fear? My second one was Dan Lanning, and I said, like, there's a part of me that just like hopes he doesn't become like that coach I think he is, and not in this game. Let it happen next year or some other time. Just like that potential is fully expands out. He becomes like, and he's you can see greatness when it happens. Man.
Well, that was a great point, and I want to get Spaz take on this though. What would as a we're the new guys on the block, obviously in the Big Ten. A great question I heard asked earlier on another stream, and so I was kind of like, well, let's get your perspective of it, and even in the chat, like Michigan fans, anything like that. What would it say? Again, if Oregon beats Ohio State, and then they win with Natty, are you seeing a power shift in the Big Ten?
No.
Like at least a strong competition power shift.
Yes, I see it. For you guys above everyone else. But the king will remain.
Michigan.
You guys ever watch the show Vikings?
Yes.
Yeah, remember when Ragnar Lothbrok went away from a while after he failed in Paris? He didn't conquer them. He went away and he came back. That's what we are. Don't worry about it. We're still around. We're just taking a little break. Don't worry about it.
A little break.
Don't worry, Daddy will be home soon.
Michigan fans, get over that last second touchdown. That was about point differential because of the tiebreakers in the Big Ten race. Over that last second touchdown.
What did Dan Lanning do in Ann Arbor? We didn't
They scored that last touchdown with like 10 seconds left because of the point differential.
Yeah. Hey, man.
You gotta do what you gotta do. He was thinking ahead. He's like,
we did it to Indiana.
Yeah, I mean that's the point. It's not meant to be egregious. He just ran the ball, and because he was like, well, extra points look better. I mean, that's all it was. It wasn't anything like.
Yeah.
You can't tell me Harbaugh didn't do that, Johnny.
But right now, man, I think I would have Ohio State winning. Right now, I feel that way. How I feel tomorrow, I don't know. But yeah, right now that's what I have in a very close game. I think it's going to range somewhere for either team. I think it'll range around 28, 31 points for each team, somewhere around there. So
I got the over. I got the over right now.
Is it 57.5?
I think it's 57, 56. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a low number. That's a crazy low
That's
number.
a crazy low number.
That's
Yeah, I would
called
think
free
it would be
money,
like-
everybody that's watching. Free money.
Yeah,
55 and a half.
Oh no, over.
Holy
Over.
crap.
It's over.
55 and a half.
Bet the over and don't blame us if it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've got it as a
Blame Chip Kelly
shootout.
if it doesn't happen.
I have it as a shootout. I already said it once on the Michigan show with those guys. I think it's going to be something like 38-35. And it's going to be
say
it's going to be a
38
close.
30.
It's going to be a close game regardless.
If
It's a one possession.
If you guys get the 38 points, I'm gonna be very pissed off.
It's a one possession game regardless. It's going to be a
Yeah.
shootout, I think. This is all or nothing. These teams have nothing left to hold back.
Oh
know.
no, like this, like I when people always say, "Oh, we're holding things for their team." This ain't a game for doing that, for holding to the national championship. Everything you got in the bag, you let it out. You let it out. Chip Kelly, I'm talking to you. You let the whole playbook out, you stubborn ass. That's what you
One
did.
more time. One more time. One more time.
You let the whole playbook out, you stubborn ass.
There you go. Like one more time. Get that close up. Someone screenshot that, please. Clip it. Clip it.
Put the quotation.
All right. Well, we're all expecting a very close game, one way or the other. I think we're all expecting kind of a shootout, similar to before. I don't think either offense is going to be stopped more than a few times. Just depends on who makes the mistakes. I think that's kind of what the game comes down to.
Most definitely.
Why is USC dancing around on the sidelines?
Because they're idiot. The USC is idiot. They're idiots.
Fucking 7-7 game. Look at us.
They destroyed a
We're
conference.
retards.
They destroyed a conference for this. Not those players, but the administration. All right. Any final thoughts, Garrison? Where can people find you again? As I have it scrolling on the bottom, but people.
Yeah,
can
man. I know
follow
you can find me and my co-host Bryce Sack at the Scarlet and Blue Show on YouTube. We've gone down to one show a week. I think we'll probably be back on probably Sunday or Monday before the game. And then also on the Ohio State Prime Time with my co-host Ryan Stano on the Voice of College Football. And that is on Mondays and Colin's show on Thursdays.
Damn right. Spaz, where can people
Yeah.
find you if they want to stalk your ass? No one wants to stalk you, but
Whoa.
But you can find me there, Sean_Spazdrag on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. It'll always be Twitter to me. So,
Mm-hmm.
and you find me in spaces, lots of spaces on Twitter.
that is true. He sends me messages while I'm at work, like, "Hey, do you want to join my space?" And I'm like, I see it later, and I'm like, "Dude, I'm at work. Like, stop sending me this shit." All right. And I'm just Ben of Exploring with Ben and Sam right here on YouTube, or Exploring with Ben right there on Twitter. And then the Sunday night show with the CFB After Dark, and with Spaz on the pregame, postgame, and weekly show for Oregon. And other than that,
Our next show will be Monday.
yes, it will be Monday with Locked On Buckeyes to discuss the game a little bit. Not necessarily more in detail, but maybe some other avenues or areas of the game a little bit. And
That's awesome.
Wednesday.
Wednesday we'll do a pregame and a postgame.
Yeah, we got to do that. We definitely got to do that. And Ryan. So, oh my God, yeah, they got to win this game.
No. I like the comment I saw earlier on Twitter. What this just reminded me of was from an Oregon fan. It was like Chip Kelly has to fulfill his destiny basically by losing to Oregon to let Oregon go win the Natty. It was like a reversal. I was like,
he said he was going to bring a Natty to Oregon. Well, here's your chance.
So he needs to lose the game.
Here you go, Chip. Here's your chance. You can bring that Natty home to Oregon by slicing Ohio State from the inside.
Good
God. Just run up the middle, Chip. Just run up the middle.
Don't you dare, you bastard.
All right.
Just so you know, Garrison, you know he's been a plant the whole time, right?
Don't see. No, I'm all worried.
Oh, uh-oh. Let the drama continue. All right, everyone.
See
Thank you for
guys.
joining in. Hit
Tony,
that
put
like.
Tony's up. Put
Oh,
Tony's up.
God. Come on. It's already done.
Garrison's gonna have nightmares for the
man.
rest of the night now.
Oh, God.
Oh man, you cheating rats. All right, see you guys.
All
All right,
Garrison,
everyone.
thanks, man.
Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining in, everyone. And we will see you guys next time. But check out Garrison, and we will see you. Garrison dropped out. I'm trying to find the overlay. Damn it! There's so much stuff in this folder. Very professional.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, Spaz. I will see you Monday night, as well as everyone here. Hopefully, join us in as we talk Locked On Buckeyes to preview the show again. You're not going to say goodbye, Spaz?
Goodbye.
That's rude as.
See you later.
Rude as hell. Night,
Take us home,
everyone.
Pop-Tart.
Have fun.